Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Hello. We're back for more BumbleKasting.
We have so many questions that come from our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members.
You are way too upbeat and energetic, sir. I can't compete. I can't maintain. I can't get on your level. I'm not on your level. I never have been, but I really can't get on your level right now. So,
well, people come for the friendly, bubbly personality, so that's what I have to force through the microphone.
Now you're overcompensating.
Well, what can I say? It's kind of fun to go a little over the top.
All right. You're skewing dangerously close into Spamton here. You need to turn down a little bit.
Hey, let's make some crazy money.
No, that's not Spamton. That's another guy.
Yeah, but he's far more wholesome.
True. Let's do it. Let's do this thing. We have all of our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, and of course the supporters on Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our amazing YouTube members. Let's start off with this one from Jara. In the most entertaining way possible, Knuckles has discovered that his parents are Tikal and Chaos. How does the red echidna react to this revelation? Would anyone else have any fun reactions to this discovery?
I'm trying to think how that would even work. Like...
maybe like his grandmother, like several times removed, or like, not several times.
No. Let's say as literally as possible.
Okay.
You have the two spirits entwined within the Master Emerald. Did just Knuckles like bud off it one day?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know.
Like that. That's why he has no parentage or history or anything. It's just one day, boop.
No one in this series has any parentage or history except for Cream.
Yeah.
And I guess Eggman, but
just whoop, there he is. It's only after the fact that he finds out that the amorphous mutant water critter and the ambiguously aged young princess somehow willed him into being.
Well, Ian,
and Knuckles.
You see, when an echidna ghost and a water monster love each other very much.
And Knuckles, being the naive, gullible fellow he is, just kind of goes, huh, okay.
Yep.
Because like, you're taking this very well. Well, isn't that how they always are made? I see the chow. They just do a little like nose touch and boop, there's an egg. So you touch noses with chaos. Of course, that's how it works.
That's obviously how it works. Knuckles is 90% water.
Mm-hmm,
Makes sense.
With everybody else, and he's like, so, yeah, apparently I'm just like a kid from Tikal Chaos. They must have, and Sonic's like, they touched noses, didn't they? Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Vanilla's got baby pictures of Cream's egg before she hatched. Everybody's perfectly fine with this.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. She's a bunny. An Easter bunny. But, because she came from an egg.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for laughing. It's very funny. Major Bunny has a question. Major Bunny has a question. Surge gets tired of finding too many stories and movies where the hero wins, so she's taking matters into her own hands. She decides to make her own comic. How does it go?
The same as any project that's powered by haterade. You get, like, big concept, about a day or two of execution, and then absolutely nothing.
And then you're like, all right, I'm not mad enough anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Kit's an avid collector of the single issue that never was completed or published, but...
Yeah. All right. And we got a question here from Mancoy. Starline's Isekai adventures continue. Starline finds himself in Mass Effect 2's Omega Station. How does he handle a universe where the tech level is above his own? Does he team up with the Eclipse Merc gang and their army of disposable robots? Does he seek out the collectors to try and make a deal with him? What are his feelings on Dr. Morden Solace? What does he wind up doing that breaks Omega's one rule, and how do Aria's enforcers send him off to his next adventure as a result? If this is too many questions wrapped into one, then take them more as an idea-generating prompts and roll with whatever one sparks your interest, or go a totally different way with it.
Well, the question is, what would he do in the Mass Effect 2 universe? You answered most of what I would have come up with.
You already did it. Mean, you did all the work.
Like, I'm reading, you're going through this. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I'm... Oh, you already did the Aria joke. Oh, okay.
You did all the work. Why'd you do that?
You answered your own question. What am I left to do? I imagine he'd get along fine with Morden for a bit. They share a similar degree of knowledge and lack of moral compunction to execute individuals, a love of show tunes. I think they'd get along swimmingly until, Morden figures out that Starline is a traditionally bad man, and maybe he takes care of him before Arya gets to him.
Nice.
I imagine you're going to have at least a few weeks of walking around the Citadel hearing, I'm Dr. Starline, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel, before they manage to patch it out.
Before they manage to arrest him. For what? Who knows? I mean, he's Starline.
I don't know.
He's getting arrested for something.
Maybe he endures long enough to have a cheap VI made off of him. One little echo of Starline in this universe.
Yes.
Of course, it's a cheap VI, so it doesn't work half the time. Hello, I am Starline the duck.
The duck.
He's my product.
The duck. Here's one from Mephiles #1 fan. One of the most interesting parts of Adventures of Sonic's characterization is that he was a bit of a flirt. And unlike Sonic Bravo, his flirting actually worked most of the time. So how would Rouge, Blaze, Whisper, Lanolin, and Jewel react to him flirting with them?
It worked within the context of Adventures of.
Yeah, but I don't think it would work on like the mainline.
No,
characters.
It's still going to be him being goofy 90s, cartoony about it. Like maybe Rouge is kind of amused, perhaps slightly charmed in a way. Maybe Jewel finds it adorable since it's so childlike, but he ain't going to win any of them in the modern context.
No, probably not. Mr. West Soda has a question. Does Heavy King take a smoking break when he's not yelling at his troops? My personal headcanon is that off-screen he acts like a tired, cranky old man, usually reading hot oil magazines and yelling for another beer.
I will not torpedo your headcanon if that's what makes you happy.
Well, I mean, Mixiger17 has a question. In honor of April Fools, so happy May to early June by the time you get to this, depending on how the schedule works out. It's early May. Well, mid-May now. I'm going with a spinoff of my Boom Hedgehog family as friends with Eggman question. For a prank, Boom Eggman and Boom Jules managed to convince Sonic that Jules has really always been a robot made by Eggman. Bernie and Chuck helped by gaslighting Sonic into thinking his mom had him via a nameless donor. Well, Chuck is actually his mom's brother. He just imagined the early Jules memories before he was roboticized, and that because Jules married Bernie, technically Eggman is legally Sonic's grandfather, and thus his middle name is actually Ivo. They lied to hide it from him until he was ready to know. How does Sonic react to this new, horrible, horrible realization? Does Bernie make him have any bonding time with good old Papa Eggy and Uncles Orbot and Cubot? And which one of the four finally breaks and lets Sonic know it's a prank after a while? This got really complicated really fast.
Very specific.
And it's yes. If Archie Sonic were still a thing, this would be a huge fan idea.
A suggestion, a critique. The question could be, in honor of April Fools, what if the Archie Sonic Hedgehog family and Boom Eggman conspired to convince Sonic that Jules is actually a robot all this time? Period.
There you go. Well, no, question mark, not period.
Well, that's true. Correct. Thank you for that correction.
Come on, Ian.
This is like the Mass Effect question. If you want me to riff on something, let me riff. Don't riff for me. I got nothing left to riff on. Yes.
Yeah. Well, all right.
But I'm assuming this is Boom Sonic being pranked, right?
It's just a prank, bro. You guys got to learn to let Ian cook. You can't just you can't lead him on.
So I'm trying to think of another angle on this.
All the angles already got covered.
Yeah, I got nothing. He'd be weirded out because of all the stuff that they've already established. Who cracks first? Jules. Jules is he loves his son. He would literally die for him. And I think he would probably think the joke's gone too far first.
Yeah, that makes sense. He can't prank him. He can't prank his son like his son can prank him.
Nah, Boom Eggman would be the one who takes it too far for too long. Like they've already established that, no, it was a joke. We're done now. And he's still trying to commit to the bit. And so, no, we've already explained that was a joke. And Sonic didn't find it particularly funny, so we're moving on now. we cause more harm than good. Stop it.
All right. Well, we got a question from Anonymous. Does Shadow need to say Chaos Control in order to make it work? Or could he just say anything random to confuse the heck out of people?
Smoked meat and fishes.
Do you have to call out your powers in order to use them, Ian? That's what the question really is.
I'm not sure.
I mean, he teleports away without saying anything.
Well, when he's doing just the short range, chaos snap, that's different than full on chaos control. Like chaos control is stopping time. It's not just a teleport.
Yeah. Well, how do we know it's called chaos snap if he doesn't say it out loud, though?
Because Sonic Battle told us, okay? Don't.
Oof.
But it is, I think, branding wise, he has to say it.
Yeah.
But like as an actual like incantation, I don't know if he has to or not. That's something for me to actually ask about.
Uh-oh.
Well, otherwise, I kind of like the idea of him holding up the chaos symbol and going, "Don't forget to like and subscribe."
Oh no!
I said no pickles.
Put your response in the comments below. Niche XCC 1900 has a question. I read a book exploring its own concept of magic. They reference entropy and how energy must always reach its end. A law magic breaks. Does that mean that the Chaos Emerald's infinite energy is magic?
There is no magic in the Sonic series.
There is no magic.
Science fiction.
There is no magic in Ba Sing Se.
I would categorize it maybe more science fantasy, but whatever.
Yes, maybe. And we got one here from Nikesy. Rhymes with Nikes, which rhymes with Nix. Sally Acorn and Lanolin have an interdimensional intercontinuity brunch. What kind of things do they talk about? For ease of why would they be there, we can say it's a mix of diplomacy and free coffee.
Lanolin wants guidance. She wants to talk shop. Sally was perfectly fine with just like chilling out and having a coffee, meet a new person, make a new friend maybe. But Lanolin's like, no, look, I've heard about you. I know what you've done. Please help. I don't know what I'm doing. So I was like, all right, let's talk it out. And it's like, I'm not even really like the team leader. I'm just the one who had the initiative. I was the one who wanted us to do something. And everyone inferred that was leadership. What do I do? And so I was like, all right. So I'm either going to bill by the hour or you can just cover the coffee. Is that cool? Okay. So here's what we do. And, very nicely and politely and upliftingly gives her a few pointers on how to be assertive and how to manage a team and how to understand the needs of the individuals and how to block out me time. And Lionel's nodding along furiously, writing down notes. How do you block out me time for yourself? And Sally just laughs and laughs and laughs. And then says, do as I say, not as I do.
I was going to say. Yes. It's like, follow my advice, don't follow my example.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tenebrae the BumbleKat.
I just had to call attention to him. Hi, Tenebrae.
I mean, if it's picking up on the mic, you might as well highlight it.
I mean, it was pretty loud.
Maybe I'll send you a picture and that can be the thumbnail for the eepisode.
Oh, okay. Sure, yeah, put a thumbnail artist
you
out
want
of
to
a
answer
job.
one of these, buddy? No? All right, fine. You sit there and just look pretty.
Okay. All right, fine. We'll go on to the next question. This one's from Noah Gets. I heard from my friend that monetarily was going to be the one to come up with the Zombot virus from IDW, because he was the only one of the egg bosses who actually agreed with Eggman being the ruler of the world. But it got canceled, but the story was made in place using Starline to carry the whole roboticizing everyone mess out. My question has kind of got something to do with this, and kind of doesn't, I think, but my baseline question is, where was Ma's story going to go if the comic didn't get canceled? Like, what was it going to do had the Archie comic not been canceled?
All right, so you're a bit of a victim of a game of telephone.
That's what it sounds like to me, yeah.
Yeah, and part of that is, I mean, that's not your fault. This is what you were told. And part of it, too, is there's not a lot of information out there yet, because this is going to fall under the Lost Hedgehog tales, which I will get to eventually one day, I swear to God. But Ma was involved with the research, but he was not the one actively researching it himself. And he was not an XP for Starline, or Starline didn't take a plot point from Ma. The metal virus concept that was going to be in Archie was completely different than what was in IDW. The only core idea that's the same between the two is the whole Sonic Heroes metal skin goo zombie concept. But where it came from, the pacing of it, who got infected, who didn't, the scope of it, yada, 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 that wholly different. And that's partly because the Archie Sonic version never really got past the early planning stages. Like, we didn't have the full scope planned out. I had a few ideas, but once Archie Sonic was done, all of that was put aside because I didn't think I would ever use it again. And then with IDW Sonic, there was the opportunity to revisit the idea. I'm like, okay, let's take the core concept and apply it to this new situation and see how it works out. And it worked out rather well, unless you didn't like it. And in that case, it was a horrendous waste of time. But most people seem to like it, and I'll, stick to that. What Ma would do, what his whole arc was, etc., etc. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, to be honest. It's been years, and I haven't had to think about it. But he did not share the same role as Starline. They were completely different in that regard. That I can say with confidence.
All right, normal person has a question. Alas, Sonic Bravo is dead, and we must pull an 06 to resurrect him. How would Amy, Shadow, and Surge react to having to kiss, and how would Sonic Bravo react to being kissed by them?
All three say, "Do I have to?" with different inflections.
Yeah.
Like, Amy hates that she's even asking this. It's a really petty thing to say. The poor man is dead, and she can revive him. But does she have to be the one to do it? Really?
In front of everybody?
I mean, she will if, you have to, if she has to. She just wants to make sure that there's no other recourse. Yeah, okay.
Of course.
Shadow is more of a question of not if he has to, or it's more that is it necessary to do it at all? Why not just leave him dead?
I mean, I have the same question, Shadow.
And Surge is kind of more of a laughing disbelief. Her, of all people, you're going to ask her. She has to do it? Really? Do I have to? Okay. And, it's debatable if she would even go through with it once she agreed to do it. I mean, she may just walk over, look his, placid face, look down at him and just headbutt him awake.
Well, there you go.
If Amy kisses him awake, his eyes flutter open, or we're assuming so because those shades cover everything somehow. So, hey, pardon, Mama, I knew you'd come around. Shadow does it with a grimace and much remorse. Sonic Bravo shudders awake. It's like, oh, hey there, pretty mama, I knew you'd come around. And Surge walks over and, again, just headbutts him. It's like, oh, there, mama. You played a little too rough for me, but I knew you'd come around.
And then she kills him again. She re-kills him. Because she didn't get to do it. Someone else killed him, and she's like, no, he's my kill.
I've been resurrected. You don't need to continue with the cranial trauma there. Hoo ha ha.
Yeah. Yep. Nice. Onexodon has a question. To give you a break from all the shipping questions, let's go to your third least favorite subject after shipping and timeline questions. Redemption arcs! If you were tasked with it, how would you redeem Mimic? And no, you can't say he's irredeemable because other characters have done worse and redeemed themselves. I mentioned Darth Vader and Nebula.
Okay, Darth Vader has a terrible redemption arc.
Darth Vader has no redemption arc. It just happens out of nowhere because the Force. Yeah, his redemption sucks.
And it was already bad when it was just the original trilogy. Okay, so he switched sides and he took out his entire order. That's pretty dark, but at least it's within the context of a war. He thought he was fighting for the ideological right side. Maybe he thought that they were corrupt and he was ultimately doing a good thing. It was just a petty thing against his own group, whatever. That's one thing.
Yeah.
The prequels add the child murder, the child slaughter. And no, there's no walking that back. There's still some good in him. I feel it. Screw you, Luke. Absolutely not.
And he's played by a guy who you couldn't imagine killing children, really. It's not, at least not at that time. I don't know. Everything was just bad.
Roll it back even further. The slaughter of the Tusken Raider camp is already...
That's pretty bad, yeah.
Them kidnapping and killing Shmi is not great, but his reprisal was way overblown.
Yeah.
And that's really not okay. And then the younglings is just no, Vader's redemption is stupid. Nebula, I'm more willing to come around on because it took way much more time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty clear that she was just as much a victim as any of her victims, because Thanos was just an absolute monster to her. And half of what she did was out of survival and trying to find a purpose for herself. Hers is a more tragic angle. I'll buy that one.
Yeah.
For Mimic, maybe because he's such a heel. Maybe it's him coming to a realization that for all of his effort to protect himself, it hasn't worked. Like, he is no safer, he is no more secure in life, and it has cost him every comfort, every alliance, every friendship that he may have had, and would ever possibly have in the future, because he has poisoned that well thoroughly.
Yeah.
So it would be him coming to the realization that he can't escape his fate, that he has, he must reap what he has sown. And in an effort to make amends, he makes the ultimate sacrifice to save Whisper. He says, I know you're never going to believe me if I say I'm sorry, so here I go. Yeah. And then maybe have him reveal it's a death cheat at the very last. So he's fine. Everyone thinks he's dead. And he got to be a martyr. Win-win.
Oh, he's still a trickster after all.
Yeah. But maybe he's a trickster for the right reasons.
Finally. This time. For once in his miserable life. He's basically pulling a Loki, is what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe. If we did that, it needs the time to set up. I'm not 100% satisfied with that, but I also did it off the top of my head, so it ain't going to be perfect.
Mimic says, looks like I'm going to have to jump. And a question here from Professor Scruffy-Matt. On the fourth island in Sonic Frontiers, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles all willingly returned to cyberspace to heal Sonic of his cyber corruption. But what if they'd been unable to return to cyberspace, and instead the three of them had been the ones to gather the Chaos Emeralds on the final island, while Sonic just stood around at the top of that tower like a big glowy doorstop? How different would the story have been without Sonic able to help them defeat the end?
Well, for the most part, I would imagine it's like the final frontier, where it's them running around the island gathering the emeralds.
The Final Frontier, like Star Trek?
No, the DLC.
It's not called the Final Frontier.
What do we call them? Was it Final Horizon?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, Final Horizon, not Final Frontier.
Okay.
What did you do? Call it Final Frontier internally?
That might have been one of the ones we were discussing, and we said no because everyone's just going to think Star Trek.
Yes, I know.
That sounds familiar now. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want? I've been done with that project for years. I've moved on to other things.
Final Frontier DLC.
It'd be worth it just for Eggman to say, no further. We draw the line here.
There are 4 lights. There are 4 moons.
Anyway, problem is Sonic is the one that beats the end. He has the power because Supersonic is special. Without him, what are they gonna do?
They're gonna have to figure out how to go super. They
can't go super. Plus, they're stuck as well. I guess they did return to the real world. So, but again, they can't turn super. Unfortunately, Eggman has no arsenal. Sage doesn't turn super, so they got the Chaos Emeralds.
Now what?
Yay!
Hold them up. Point them at the end. Go away.
The end just like nukes the planet.
They're gonna have to call up their buddy Trip. Apparently she can go super for some reason.
All right.
Why? Why can't they go super? Ian, guess they'll have to call Blaze. Hey, Rockamillion has a question or a criticism. Ian, you're wrong. Sonic was not holding back during his fight with Tails in House of Cards. At least not in the latter half of the fight. He literally says, if you won't pull any punches, then neither will I. That completely contradicts what you said about Sonic pulling his punches. What do you have to say in your defense? Keep in mind that you are under oath.
Thank you for supporting the BumbleKast.
I think they're trying to be funny, but yeah.
That's the problem. I honestly can't tell. I've been in these trenches for too long, Kyle.
Yeah, well, Sonic says a lot of things. They're not always necessarily 100% true.
Fine, he was pulling his punches for the first half of the fight, as you observed.
Yes, and then he was throwing punches for the second half. Sam Cybercat has a question. What if instead of Sonic running by to save Tails from the bullies back in Sonic 2, Tails was instead saved by Big the Cat? How does Tails' life play out differently as Big the Cat's sidekick? I feel like we have done this before.
Yeah, something similar at least. And, Tails learns to just chill and have a good time.
Yep.
And he ends up building Big some of the best fishing gear you could ever hope for. And they just chill out.
They catch so many fish. I mean, you don't even know. Just hundreds, dozens, billions. None of those are in order. Don't ask.
How bizarre is it to think that the first time Tails would meet Sonic is in Sonic Adventure 1? Because they're both chasing down Froggy.
Yeah. Boy, that's weird. And our last question before we take a break is from Sammy. Ian, I ask you but one thing. To rewrite the famous, you might know everything I'm going to do line, as if Omega was the one saying it. Bonus points if you can somehow add the sounds of a printer jamming into the speech.
You may know everything I am going to do, but that is not going to help you, because I am going to kill you anyway. Strange, isn't it?
Prow.
This episode, we have a sponsored ad from Switchel. Over 15 years and 10 million movies, songs, and video games were made lost media by Sony without any prior warning. The Little Big Planet server shutdown is arguably the single largest loss to game preservation in history, just by nature of it not being a game, but an entire content platform. Keeping servers for Little Big Planet online forever isn't realistic, but Sony can still preserve this game's important legacy by releasing a public read-only archive or by temporarily reinstating the server so players have a chance to archive Little Big Planet themselves. Go to savelbp.org to take the first steps to help, and then reach out to the game history organizations like museums or libraries to try to get their support as well. Millions of creations will remain permanently lost without your direct help.
We're back, and we got a question from Caleb R. It's the Olympics in the Stone Age. Don't ask how that's possible. And in said Olympics, the ancestors of Sonic and Mario are competing against each other. Who will take home the gold-painted stone medal? Will it be Son Ugg the Ball or Mario's granddad?
I'm assuming this is a reference to the Mario Brothers Super Show.
Flintstones? Son Ugg the Bog Hog.
Yeah, that one I know.
Okay.
Mario's granddad.
Mario's granddad? You don't know?
Is that a
yes?
Is that a Super Show reference?
No. Okay. There's a ROM hack of Flintstones. What is it? Adventure on Dinosaur Peak, where the sprite has been swapped with Mario, and the game is called Seven Granddad. It is a unofficial bootleg ROM hack.
Fascinating.
And yeah, it's you turn the game on, it's playing the Flintstones theme, but it's a Sonic sprite on screen, and you're like, what the heck? Granddad? I don't know how this managed to pass you by, Ian. You completely missed the granddad meme? Wow.
I did.
Wow. I said a Mario sprite, right? It's that one.
You said Sonic, but still. I got the point.
I meant Mario. So.
I'm still just tickled by the idea of a weird Mario Flintstones mashup. Luigi, my pebbles! What's the matter with you?
I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. I really can't think. I can't. Are you familiar with Silva Gunner?
The name rings a bell.
The YouTube channel that has the meme video game music stuff, like the remixes that are like the highest quality video game rips, the terrible jokes. Like I can't. I feel like I'm trying to explain this to my to my dad.
Go on. Is this on the YouTubes?
This feels so weird.
I tried to watch it on my TV, but I couldn't get it to talk to my computer box.
I feel so. I don't know if I feel old or like way too young. Yeah, I don't know what I feel. I don't know how to react to this, Ian.
Now, Kyle, I am generally horrendously, laughably out of the loop.
Which is hilarious. Why people thought you were like actually trying to make a joke with Big Oof. Like actually trying to make a meme reference.
Wait, what? We're kind of losing the thread here, but I thought they just didn't like the usage of the word choice in particular. That's a meme?
It's also, yes. It's like it's because it's kind of like, it's dismissive, Big Oof. But also, yes, Big Oof is a meme. It is actually a meme, but that's why people were like, oh, that's like so overused. It's a huge overused meme. That's one of the big reasons why. Yeah, I can tell. Ian is old. But also, like, yeah, oof is like a big thing these days. Like, oof, this ain't it, chief.
Okay.
Oof.
I have never been hip. I have never been with it. So
oof, yikes. It's Roblox's fault.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Caleb R had a question. And we're just going to go with Sonic because I think we have made it quite clear that I don't know what I'm talking about in this situation. So we'll just go with the pure Sonic brand stuff.
Sure.
I got my Mario Pebbles joke in. I'm satisfied. I hope you're satisfied, Caleb.
I feel weird trying to explain to you what 7 Granddad is.
There's that Ian Flynn hitting the internet like a flaming sack of crap.
It's just Fred Flintstone with Mario's head. Yeah, there we go. That's what it is. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Well, I hope you're satisfied, Caleb. Scurvy Pirate Dog has a question. The reason for Shadow's powers is because Black Doom donated his blood to him, right? Well, what if the Black Comet got destroyed before it ever arrived? So instead of asking Black Doom for help, Gerald ends up asking Mother Wisp for help instead, donating Wisp blood instead. How different is Shadow, and how does the events of his game play out now?
Do wisps even have blood?
I don't know. You're the one who can find out, Ian.
I mean, they seem to be like energy-based beings. Do they have any internal organs or fluids or stuff? But, you know, I'm again getting lost, missing the forest for the trees here. So we'll just assume that Shadow is born through some infusion of wispian essence.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm inclined to imagine Shadow just with Mother Wisp's palette. So pastel pinks and whites and blues. And the exact same personality. Like something that looks like it should be on your Easter pastel decoration shelf. But he still has all the edge.
And now Whisper can shoot him, you know, as ammunition, not as like a target. Soccercott has a question. Describe how Sonic Set AM would play out with the Chaos Council as the main antagonist. Would they...
Arguably largely the same?
Would they be more or less competent?
I'm inclined to say generally less competent, but with the 5 of them, you have a setup for your Monster of the Week formula, where each one has their grand scheme for attacking the Great Forest or, you know, mining some resource elsewhere, and the Freedom Fighters defeat that particular Chaos Counselor. And then they go dragging back to the main group, and they're like, we knew you couldn't do it. And rinse and repeat. It's extremely formulaic, but it would work for a syndicated show.
Yeah, this feels like making Sat AM a little bit more Adventures of E.
Maybe. I think you could still play the Chaos Counselors as semi-threatening, like competent enough. Definitely more jokey than how Sat AM Robotnik generally was portrayed, but he had his goofy moments too. So
I mean, yeah, but it was the 90s. Everyone had their goofy moments. Sonic Beta 4 is here with a question. Father Death, but later, it's implied that she intends to manipulate him and him for her own gain until she either backstabs or just simply tries to dispose him when she gets what she wants. I also have the same question for IDW. When after Knuckles gets cured, he finds her on top of the Master Emerald as if she was more concerned about it than him. I don't know who this is talking about.
Yeah, we're missing a crucial noun here.
Yeah, I don't know if like the question, part of this question got lost in the submission on the submission form or what.
Maybe we can, okay. So Father Death, but later implied she intends to manipulate him, who, and him, who else, for her own gain until she either backstabs or just simply tries to dispose of him. We have 2 hims, which him, and she gets what she wants. And because Knuckles is mentioned later, I'm inclined to think it's Lianda.
Or no, I also have the same question for IDW. When after Knuckles gets cured, he finds her on top of the Master Emerald as if she was more concerned about it than him. That sounds like Rouge.
Yeah, that's clearly a reference to Rouge, but that doesn't fit the first half. The first half sounds like Lianda. The second half sounds like Rouge. Unless the question is, what if Lianda replaced Rouge in that scene?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
So Sonic Beta 4, when you get a chance, please follow up with us, and we'll try our best to come back around to this and give you an answer. But right now, I have no idea what you're asking, really.
Help us out. Sonic Sword Fighter has a question. Is Black Doom just 3 wisps in a trench coat, 4 counting his eye?
Yes, because Mother Wisp won't let them go see the naughty movies.
You're not my real mother.
Hello, I am an adult. Please let me see the movie. Also, I want popcorns. What's really impressive is, Wisp's only talking jibber jabber, so they have to like perfectly sync their little beeps and boops to sound like actual words. They're very well coordinated. They should see that movie.
Wow. Yeah, they seem mature. They're rather mature for their age.
I mean, they've worked hard enough for it. Let them see the movie.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, at worst, it has a couple swears. It's fine. Let them go see it.
Yeah. Here's one from Spoiler1001. If Sage didn't draw Sonic's attention at the beginning of the Final Horizon DLC, what was Sonic going to do to Eggman after that little comment about the power of friendship? Also, I said Eggman wrong. It's spelled Eggaman in this question.
Super balding genius. Na 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 na. Eggaman. Sonic would have said something probably hurtful and or snarky.
That sounds like him.
And he's not going to throw hands here at the 11th hour. Just maybe bop the Eggmobile just for good measure. But
like you do. Supersonic fan has a question. Alternate timeline. What if Storm had joined Team Sonic and Knuckles had joined the Babylon Rogues? How would they get along with their teammates?
That's honestly hard to conceptualize because their histories are so intrinsically entwined with the teams. Storm especially so. Like, he is a Babylon rogue.
Yes.
And he is like diehard stan for Jet. So to remove him from that context and to put him with Team Sonic, that's kind of hard to wrap my head around. Like, if it's a matter of just circumstances, like, I don't know, whatever Grand Prix they're in, they draw lots and you're assigned to a team. Maybe that works a little better. Maybe I'm overthinking it because the way it's worded, it's like altering the timeline. They were always part of these groups.
That's what it sounds like to me.
That kind of bakes them a noodle. But if it's just a matter of circumstance where Storm has to race with Team Sonic because reasons, and Knuckles has to race with Team Babylon for reasons, then that's a little easier for me to conceptualize. And Knuckles is not happy about it, but he's going to see his duty through, and he's going to win. That's just what he does. You're going to compete with him, he's going to win. That's just what it happens.
Yeah.
And oh no, he just happened to have a situation where he punched Sonic in the arm on the wave past. It's just part of the competition. No pent-up passive aggressiveness over years of rivaling. Nah, what are you talking about?
No, of course not. No others. No, nothing, no tension whatsoever.
Storm would probably be caught in an existential crisis because he doesn't want to, go up against the boss. So he would want to betray Team Sonic. He will hold them back and thus Jet will win. But Jet would hate that. Jet wants to win legitimately. He wants to prove that he's the best because he is the best. So Storm dragging the other team back would be going against Jet's wishes, but trying to beat Jet goes against Jet's wishes. And what does Storm do? At which point Tails is like, I think we should have a talk with him. And Sonic goes, fine. Yo, Storm, just race. Stop thinking so hard.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, Superior Pizza has a question. There comes a time where every man and boy must make a decision that'll decide who they'll be for the rest of their life. I'm here to see what decision you two have made. Would you rather do the Kamehameha or the Super Hadouken?
Kamehameha. No contest.
I'm going to be the Super Hadouken guy.
That's fine. And then my Kamehameha continues to flow and eats your Super Hadouken and then blasts you off the side of the planet for a spectacular finish.
K.O. Switchell has a question. Something that's been repeatedly talked about on this podcast is how the characters and stories can be interpreted widely differently among people. Things like the meaning of Black Knight's story, Eggman Nega's characterization, Amy's adventure era behavior, etc. Heck, I and many others interpreted pre-Final Horizon Sage as having turned away from villainy entirely toward the end of Frontiers, whereas you stated that was very much not the intent for her character. When you're writing a story, Sonic or otherwise, do you ever try to consider these alternate interpretations of characters or stories that you do not share? Why or why not? I don't think there's a wrong answer because ultimately everyone having their own interpretations of the story is inevitable and is part of being human.
It is. I do try to take it into consideration to a degree because if there's a very specific thought or message that I want to do or get to a very particular point, I do want to make sure that there is I almost said no confusion. That's never going to happen. As little confusion as possible. And try to look at it from various angles to see, how could this be misinterpreted, or how would somebody else potentially see this? And what can I do to revise or portray the story in a way that mitigates that to some degree? I can't cover every variable. That's just not possible. But I feel like in general, I do manage to find the largest audience consistently with what I'm trying to do. And when there is a lot of discussion or confusion over something that I've done, I try to look at all of the feedback and go, okay, where are they getting this from? Where are these takes coming from? Is it from actual interpretation of the text that I hadn't considered? Or is it because one person had a bad take, they didn't actually read it properly, and everyone's just reacting to that? Yeah. And to a point, something you just have to learn to do is let go, because you aren't going to be able to control that reception. And just tell the best story you can and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, here's one from Tetsuya the Wise. I'm working on the script for a graphic novel, and I decided to have the main character narrate the story. I got the first couple of pages done, and I showed a friend of mine what I had. They said that while first-person storytelling isn't a bad method, there are a couple things that could trip me up later down the line. For example, there can't be any scenes that don't involve the main character, i.e. secret meetings between villains, the narrator can't be surprised by twists because they already know what happens, etc. They also said that you shouldn't use a first-person format just to use it, and there should be a greater reason as to why the narrator is even telling the story. Another idea I had was for moments where the narrator would change to another character to explore how they view things and show scenes that don't require the main protagonist to be there. They said that would probably get confusing and unfocused. As a professional writer, what are your thoughts on this?
You have a good friend.
Your friend is helping you. Yes.
Yes. Those are all very good notes. If you have a first-person narrator for your story, you basically have two versions of your protagonist in this scenario. The present action one that is telling you the story, and the past one who is living out the events that are being narrated. Now, the past one cannot know certain events that they are not there for. But if the scenario makes sense, the present narrator can know it and give that context. But you have to answer the question of how do they know this after the fact? And more to the point, why are they telling you, the reader, this information? Like, is this an after action report? Is this an affidavit? Are they just telling you a story because you bought them a beer? What is the impetus for them to tell this story, and why are they telling it this particular way? Just having them tell the story because it's a different and unusual tone of voice isn't sufficient. It's a tool. It's not just a perspective. It is a narrative tool, and you need to use it properly. You could switch between narrators, but that compounds the issue of the other one. Is like, why do we have two or more narrators? Why is one telling part of the story when another one is not? What is the context of this storytelling? And why is it that they have these different perspectives? It's doable. I'm not saying it's a completely flawed concept, but it does add to what you need to take into consideration and manage with what character knows what and when and how they interpret the story itself and themselves in these past contexts. What you could do, which could be fun, is a bit of a Rashomon type situation where narrator one is telling the story from their perspective, and then narrator two comes in and says, no, it went like this. And you get different facets of this story from their perspective. It can be done that way, but that is way more complicated than a single first person narrator.
Yeah.
So your friend is right. Those are very good notes, and just be careful and thoughtful with your considerations as you're putting your story together.
All right. Question from the Oddly Roger. We've seen the Sonic cast in all kinds of video game genres, but what are your thoughts on utilizing them in a Marvel Ultimate Alliance style game? I think it would be a blast to have a game that would let you mix and match a team of characters from all the various Sonic canons and then cut them loose against whatever challenge that's thrown at the player. What kind of missions would be fun to play? Who would you recruit in your dream teams? Would there be much room left for a story? God, this sounds like a great game concept. Should be a thing.
It's been a while. Ultimate Alliance is like the 4-player co-op beat 'em up, right?
Kind of, yeah, like a dungeon crawler beat 'em up sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It would be a little weird just because it's Sonic, and you expect characters like Sonic or Shadow or Espio or Jet to be swift, and that kind of dungeon crawl beat 'em up doesn't really lend itself to speed. But if the move sets are visceral enough and quick enough, maybe that would satisfy.
I mean, Quicksilver is a playable character in some of them. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility to have a speedster.
Yeah, maybe. And just from like the main modern cast, you got 30 something characters.
I know
that's a gigantic roster.
That's a huge roster. That would be fantastic.
And story, any number of things. Eggman stages another invasion. Shoot, make this the story of the lost 6 months of the Eggman War. Why not?
But then people would have a heart attack because Sonic's not playable.
Hey, yeah, all right.
See, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're right. Fine. Eggman invades again. Eggman War 2, Electric Boogaloo.
2? It's only the second time?
Well, on this scale, I don't know. Fine. Black Arms invasion. Gun comes back and decides they want to rule the world. Somebody trips and opens up a rift to the hell dimension, and the demons come through this time. I don't know.
Oh, well, okay. Now it's a Doom crossover. All right. I'm into it. Let's go.
The End's brother comes back looking for revenge. Oh, no, it's the continuation.
The End's brother. What, the other purple moon from Sonic Origins?
Yeah. So, whatever excuse you need for your team to go around beating up things and seeing some neat set pieces. But it might be a fun little beat 'em up time waster. And for me, the novelty would just be, the size of the roster.
Yeah.
Throw together characters that you don't normally see and just have fun with that.
That would be fantastic. I absolutely love this concept. I would play the heck out of a game like this. That's almost as good as a Sonic Dynasty Warriors like.
I would want that one first.
Yeah.
Really for the spectacle, but they're both solid enough concepts.
Yeah. I mean, I do want the Sonic Warriors game more than anything, but Sonic Ultimate Alliance sounds pretty good too. The Phantomist has a question. Monkey's Paw time yet again. You finally get to do a Mario and Sonic crossover comic, but in classic Nintendo fashion, they forsake the obvious approach for something more bizarre. Nintendo and Sega task you with writing a miniseries about everyone's favorite bootleg, Somari, merging the world, characters, and mythos of Sonic and Mario into an unholy yet intriguing story. How would you go about this strange project? Okay, Ian, do you know what Somari is, at least?
I do know about Somari.
Okay.
A little bit.
If we're talking bootleg games, you at least know what a Somari is.
Yes.
Okay, because you don't know what a granddad is, but you know what a Somari is. Okay, good.
And you know what? We can call that DLC chapter the Final Frontier. How you like that, huh?
Right, fine.
I would want to, if I could, find a solid playthrough of Somari and novelize it. Take it 100% literal and faithful and make a story out of that.
A solid playthrough of Somari is literally just Sonic 1 with 4 levels, I think. I forget how many. It's not very many.
Well, didn't they mix up the stage a little bit or have some odd enemies in there?
Jeez, I'm trying to think.
Been a while.
It really is mostly just a Sonic game with Mario that runs fast.
That's not enough. We need stuff like Moto Goombas and Princess Egg Bowser or something.
Yeah, all the items, bosses, levels, and enemies are all identical to Sonic. Yeah.
No. We need something spicier than that.
Yeah, we do.
What we need is just to get a hat and all these various Sonic terms and names and just drop them all in the hat and grab 3 at random, and that becomes a character or an item or a thing. And then make it make sense. Or revel in the fact that it makes no damn sense.
Motobug plus Goomba equals Roomba. Thanks, chat. Thank you. Good old Princess Egg Bowser. Sage Jr., no! Oh, man. That's cursed. Oh, well. Everything's cursed on this show. The Cyberspace Coco has a question. As we know, the IDW comics take place after Sonic Forces and before Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Dream Team. Is there a chance we're going to see the IDW storyline advance past those games? I know, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter since the Sonic timeline is pretty loose anyway, but I'm just asking because I'd really like to see characters like Sage and the concepts like the Ancients appear.
I don't know if we'd get like a dedicated bridging story or if it would just be stories that make it clear that it's after the fact. Also, don't know if we'd be able to return to Starfall Island and address the Ancients or the Cocos at all. That may be done and wrapped up and we have to do other stuff, but I don't think it's impossible. I just don't know when that's necessarily going to happen because, you know, again, Evan is writing the book now.
Mm-hmm. Except when you're writing it, which is occasionally.
Which happens every now and again, yeah, but I don't want to say definitively, oh, yes, this is how things would happen because, you know, Evan's been writing this for years. I've been off the main book for quite a while.
You've been replaced. Not really, but in a way. Twilord has a question. When answering a Sonato question, do you assume the Sonic is gay, the Sonic is bisexual, the only boy who could ever reach Sonic is the son of a dark preacher, the only boy who could ever teach Sonic is the son of a dark preacher? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Oh, yes, he was.
I don't consider it. It's whenever I get these combo questions, it's just, okay, how would the character, if they were romantically inclined, receive this other character? I don't really put any greater thought into it. It's like, how do the characters interact? Because the actual motivation, the desire that would be in that character is not really a consideration because we're just doing random crack ships.
Yeah. And Virgil A is here with our last question. Dear Bumble King, first time I'm doing this. Wow. Just recently started listening this past week and was fascinated by your insight into the series. Given the Archie comics having so many different writers, source games, conflicting canons, and Sega restrictions, you were tasked to bring them all together to be unified into a cohesive narrative. What's your proudest connecting of the dots, where you took these disparate elements and tied it into the actual games? For example, taking all the emeralds across the galaxy, throwing them into the Zone of Silence, making the Great Harmony not involve Titan Tales, and establishing a special zone with the 7 emeralds. Crudfully yours, Virgil A.
Well, good on you. First question, and you do the proper greeting for my title.
Dear Bumble
You get
King.
entire Bumble serfdom for that.
Yes, and you signed off correctly, too. Crudfully yours, Virgil A.
Well, Virgil, that's a good one, actually. I was rather proud of that, and you know, trying to come up with where the other emeralds would have been from. And I distinctly remember when saying that the one set of emeralds came from wheat, and the other was like, "Are you seriously
bringing back wheat?
Bringing this back?"
Yes!
And I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "No," and I'm like, "Come on, it's just for this one panel. We'll never touch it again." He's like, "All right."
Come on. Don't hate the Karhim. Karhim is my hero. Karhim of wheat. Oh, come on.
And I just love the fact that for like a brief second, we actually see Weetians. Weetians are now a thing. It's an actual established race.
Thank you.
It's ridiculous. But no, that was fun. I liked how that came together. Personally, the one that was most satisfying, or the one that first comes to mind, was dealing with Gamma, who never actually completed his story arc from Adventure, and using that to establish Omega within the continuity. That came together pretty much exactly how I wanted. And it was just very satisfying to see.
Yeah. Just the way you brought so many things back, it's like you finally circled back on a lot of stuff that had been just sitting there for like at some points decades, at least a decade. And it's like, oh, wow, finally some closure on this. Or acknowledgement of this thing that happened one time back in issue 12. Fun stuff. And on that note, we are at the end of this BumbleKast.
Thank you so much to all our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members for submitting their questions and supporting the show. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Catch you later. Karhimo Fleet.
All right, not this one. This is current Ian. We need Ian on the BumbleKast. This is his energy level. Level check, 1 2 1 2. Level check, 1 2 1 2.
Yep, we're good. We'll roll with it. The compressor will fix it in post.
Okay, here we go. BumbleKast for May 13th or whenever the hell we publish this. 3, 2, 1.
Something that's been repeatedly talked about on this podcast is how the characters and the stories can be interpreted in... My words are falling apart here toward the end. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
Decide to step on my hip with each paw, each one having the full body weight as it was applied, and then walk up my ribs and off my shoulder around my head.
You didn't need that. You didn't need that body, did you?
I stayed asleep just to spite him.
Good. Cats. Can't live with them.
Now, to be fair, I stayed up late and was sleeping in, and he was trying to wake me up to do his medication on schedule. So really, he was in the right, but sleepy.
Yeah, go away.
He doesn't even like the medication anyway. It's just like he's learned that this is around the time he needs to be medicated. So let's do it. Okay, I'll go get it. No, don't do it.
Tenebrae, gonna medicate you into the sun. No, let's not do that. Cat's begging for drugs. Oh no.